This week's episode features a multi-part discussion addressing a mix of topics ranging from a detailed conversation about a recent gambling scandal involving NBA figures like Chauncey Billups to a broader discourse on the ongoing government shutdown and its implications on the American populace. What's going on, Keith?
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on, Mike Miller?
Hey, Tom Corley. Hey, Keith Pickens. How you guys doing?
Good, Mike.
Well, I had plans to wear my Don Corleone t-shirt, but I decided to go with the Michigan. Go blue.
You can't lose with Michigan, Tom. You can, but you shouldn't.
Seeing that this might be a gangster episode.
Right. You told me that, I could have pulled out one of my old Borsalinis.
Right? Explain to the listeners what a Borsellini is, Keith.
Yeah, just a hat with small brim. Back then, they really had the brim that were curved all the way around. Just a gangster hat, basically, just to keep it real simple. Just a nice brimmed hat that you wear with a suit. And that's what gangsters did. They were distinguishable by their overcoats and their hats.
Give them another visual. Is that something a pimp will wear?
A little less flamboyant, saying, yeah, they would be more tailored. You could see that. Not that they paid more money, but it was more conservative, if you will.
Oh, no, pimps, conservative.
Yeah.
Between the two categories?
Yeah, man. Pimps want to definitely be seen. I'm not saying that the gangsters don't, but they might even wear an array of colors. You see the gangsters, they might have on the black, the gray, the navy blue. Pimps may have on lime green, royal blue, red.
This is true.
With the shoes to match.
This is very true. There is a distinction between the two.
Yes,
That's
sir.
hilarious. Mike Miller, you're our basketball guy.
Me.
So help me out, man. Why is Chauncey Billups getting the perp walk?
It's like this. Okay, let's back up a step. It's Chauncey, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier, and a whole bunch of other people.
Yes.
But we only
later. Yes, sir.
You know why he's getting the perp walk? They're trying to make him the face of the scandal.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And first off, he don't own none of the tables. He was simply what they call a face card, someone to attract the other gamblers to the game.
Right.
He didn't set up the game. He didn't own the property where the games were held. He didn't own none of the tables. He didn't have no special glasses. He did his part. This is something. Let me back up a step. He was involved in the poker game. And Jones were involved in the gambling on sports.
Jones was involved with both of them.
Jones is both. Okay.
Well, allegedly. Let's not just throw him.
Allegedly.
In this great country of ours, you are
Right.
in proven guilty.
Correct. Due process. They all get due process.
Yeah.
That's correct. And this gambling ring was linked to 4 of the 5 families.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's their words. This is the words of the people, on television. 4 of the 5 families were involved in that. But did they name any of those families? No. They just said Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier and Damon Jones. I don't want to call it racism in the way that it's being reported.
Right.
But I have a hard time calling it anything other than that. I'm not saying that they aren't wrong. Of course they're wrong. And just like the Boston Red Sox were wrong. And again, that documentary was on last night about the Boston Red Sox throwing the 19 whatever World Series. Yes. This type of thing has been going on since the dawn of time. It's just that these people got caught. That's all. I can tell you other games in which I saw, I don't want to name the player. He's retired now. Has a really good gig, but he never made more than $2 million a year in his contract. Today, these guys are making $40 million a year. So I appreciate Shaq's take on this when he said this is a real stain on the NBA and they have to clean this up. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But again, it's nothing new. It's just that this group got caught. Any sports gambler knows. Anybody who's gambled on sports knows. This is nothing new.
No, it's nothing.
No, it's just that this group got caught.
You're talking about betting on the game. I thought this was just a poker game that kind of had some high stake players, and the high stake players got taken to the bank.
They did, and it's no different. It's almost like a Ponzi scheme. They set them up, and they start off with lower stakes, and then they raise the stakes, and that's when all of a sudden they start losing, and the house starts winning, or whoever's supposed to win starts winning. Same thing happened to this basketball player who thought he could play golf. They set him up the same way. He thought he could play golf, and they would let him win a few matches, and then they would go out in foursomes, and there would be one guy there that he didn't know, and then they get out to maybe fifth or sixth hole and start to raise the stakes. By the ninth hole, it's $10,000, $20,000 a hole. And at that point, the person he didn't know, that was the plant, the person that could really play very well. And all of a sudden, bam, they would start winning every hole. He got into so much debt that he had to start throwing games. NBA, I saw one with my own eyes. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. He ran off the court, and one of his fellow players smacked him in the back of the head because he knew what was going on. The coach said, some people involved in this game better watch themselves. It was very apparent who he was talking about and what he was talking about. Nothing was ever done. Couldn't prove anything. We threw the ball away. So he threw it away again. So he threw it away again. With nobody standing there. 3 or 4 separate times.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. You got to remember, in sports, as long as there's gambling involved with sports, this type of thing is going to happen. The money is too great. The lure. And this is just me talking. This is my opinion. Chauncey, he didn't need the money. We know that. But the lure of, I don't know, the excitement. I'm hanging out with gangsters. You know what I mean? I'm part of this.
Do you feel like he knew who he was hanging out with?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Tom, I think that, not to cut you off, Mike, but that's what people say when they're about to cut you off. But essentially, Chauncey was the bait. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of ego involved when you talk about high stakes, right? You got people who have money, but they don't have access. They don't have fame. They don't have popularity. But here's access to a guy who everybody knows. In fact, he went into the Hall of Fame just last year, 2024. And imagine being invited to a poker game where Chauncey Billups is going to be there. Basically, what he provided was legitimacy for the game. Yeah, we're losing a lot of money, but you know what? There's no way Chauncey Billups is going to partake in something that's illegal because he's got a reputation for having integrity. We know he's wealthy. Not only that, he's prominent to the extent that he played basketball and now he's a coach. Right now, today, he's a coach as we sit here and take a part in a poker game with him. And it's going to, whatever it is, whatever happened, it's going to come like this. And when the FBI, they dig for several years before they decide, okay, we're going to drop the bomb on you right now. Because now they've accumulated enough information where they can work their case, so to speak. And so my thought, and I could be totally off, like you said, Mike, it's really a matter of opinion. And I hope it's not true. Hopefully it's just my thought that they may have something on Chauncey for whatever it is, big or small. But he's definitely intelligent enough to not just haphazardly get caught up in something like that. So now you're going to allow somebody knowingly to use you to bring in big fish or whales, as they call it. And then you're going to take part because you're going to have tables that with your X-ray contact lenses enable you to see the cards that are being paid. There's also a machine that's set up to shuffle in a certain way that enables you to kind of rig the deck, so to speak. If your hand is not up to par, there's a signal, whether it be touch your nose or raise your hand or whatever the signal may be, to alert people that your hand is not sufficient or good enough to win. And the thing was thought out. It's definitely, I think somebody said, I could be wrong. I hate to make comments about something that I'm unaware, but I think I heard it was the Gambino family. And there are, like you said, Mike, there are 4 separate branches of the Gambino family. and were 5. But apparently what you've said is that there were 4 who were involved. It's hard for me to imagine all 5 of them would be involved. Because when it comes to the mob, if you don't do anything but watch mob movies, they all want a piece. Yeah, wake their beak, right?
Right.
So for Chauncey, I got a poster of Chauncey and the Pistons that he won the championship with on my wall right now in the man cave. And I come downstairs and I look, and I'm just looking, and when I see it, I just shake my head, because there's no way somebody as esteemed as Chauncey gets caught up in something like this. I don't know much about the other 2 guys, Damon Jones and Terry Rozier. I know they're prominent players in the NBA, and they both had great careers, and Terry apparently is still a player. But for Chauncey to get involved in this poker scheme, this Ponzi that you called it, Mike, it's just unfathomable. And I just can't wait for all of them to come out to see how he got caught up, if he in fact got caught up or tied into this. Of course, as most people who are being charged would do, he's pleading innocent. He's saying that there's no way that he would risk his reputation, his family, and his legacy by doing something illegal. But yeah, this is shocking. And you know what? It's also, to a certain extent, that we feed off of news, a diversion from the politics of the day. So there's always that. Although when you look at it, this goes back a few years, and so it began during the Biden administration. So you can't necessarily specifically tie it into current administration. But when you talk about Patel, he's a grabber. He's a headline grabber anyway. He's about trying to get up in front of it and take credit for something that he really has no knowledge of, or very little awareness outside of what they reported back to him, as with him being the head of the FBI. That's my opinion, Tom.
Well, I'm still trying to process the whole thing of him being the face. I understand here locally he's a hero or a champion, I would say, here in Detroit. But when he became the face nationally, that just threw me for a whole nother look on it. I don't know if it's, what's the word, sensationalizing news, but I also think what Mike was saying, I don't necessarily think it's racist. I just think they needed a face that everyone could recognize to be the face of this incident. But I just can't get past the fact that it's been reckless of the media to make Chauncey the face of this incident. And then for him, they only get, what, $50,000? So as some type of influencer by showing up and being at this?
Oh, no, it was more than that. 50 was just one game.
He received personally, Chauncey?
Yeah, he received a whole lot of money. For another game, he received $750. It's just Tom.
All right.
One guy did lose 1.5 or 1.7 million in one night. So,
Okay, so the criminals are getting this dollar figure, 750,000, not Chauncey himself, right?
No, that was Chauncey's.
Get out.
One person won, one lost 1.5, 1.75 million. That was one person at the game.
Yeah.
There were other people at that game that lost $1 million that night. There were several $1 million in one game. And this went on for years. I don't know who the snitch was, because that's the only way you're going to get the type of information they got. To have videotape of what was going on. I don't know who the snitch is, but dude, you better get off the planet. You can't, there's nowhere they're not going to find you.
Well, it was one of the people who was taken, maybe went to a game and decided to wear the mic and the camera.
I
don't know. It's not necessarily been a snitch. It could have been the person who was railroaded.
Could have been.
Person who was railroaded.
Could have been. Perhaps. I know somebody said something, and somebody at some point was complicit getting those microphones in the room.
And Mike, when they have something on you, it's easy for you to become complicit. When they have you about to go there.
That's right. Right.
Tom, to your point about Chauncey, yeah, we loved him locally. He accomplished a lot here, but he also played for other teams. In terms of basketball, he's on a national scale. He's not just some local guy who played for the Pistons. If you're a basketball fan, you would be aware of Chauncey Billups for all of his accomplishments. And the fact that he's even a coach and he's gone to the Hall of Fame would indicate that he's more than just a guy that, and I know you're not belittling him, but it's more to it than just a local angle. And I can see clearly, and particularly with his reputation and being a person of integrity, I could see how he would immediately become the face of the scandal. So he's a big fish, seriously.
Right.
So I think if they had said Terry Rozier or Damon Jones and left it at that, because it's the NBA, it would still be a big deal. But I guess I'm more of a local fan than a national fan per se. So the bill wouldn't have rang as loud for me if it was just those two guys. But when you say Chauncey Billups, the fact that he played here and the fact that he's done so much in the NBA, I would have recognized him as a national figure.
All right. So none of us made it to a march or a protest,
No.
but the outcome was that 7 million Americans made it to the 2,600 different locations across the country. Now, there were also marches of Americans in other countries like Europe. So it was a big deal that technically went beyond the 7 million just locally. And then other countries were participating in a No Kings rally in support of the United States. But where do we go from here? You guys think they need to do? It's not like it's at the level of a civil rights movement. At least I'm not aware of any true leadership in a particular organization like NAACP or something like that.
Right, and I think that's a big part of it. I can't think of the group that sponsored the events, that established the date and so forth. But you're right. I think the fact that there's not a specific leader that you can point to kind of makes what would have been an otherwise really successful protest or rally less effective per se. Because from my understanding, having 7 million people protest No Kings on the same day is reportedly the largest gathering of people to protest an event in the United States, as far as I know, or as far as what's been reported. When you talk about civil rights, obviously Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson, people like that were the face. They were the face of it, and were able to unite and mobilize. And I think that short of having somebody like that, it makes a really good statement. And those politicians who are going to be in the midterm elections and any elections going forward should be aware that some of their constituents are really not happy with the current order of the day. But I think that they've got to gather momentum around the fact that people are unhappy and can't let that message die or dissipate, because you do it 1 month and then 3 months down the line and then it fades away. And you don't hear a lot about it, but you got to keep everything else in the news that Trump is doing. You should also be able to continue to report on the success of the movements and just keep it in the forefront so that people understand that 7 million people is small in terms of all of the voters that showed up for the last election. But that's still a lot of people who showed up, and it was nonviolent. Now, the Republicans wish it would have turned into something where they could have said, hey, look at these guys, they're radicals, they're defiant, they're violent, but it was a great turnout. People were nonviolent and they participated and they expressed their discontent. And I think that it's important that it's repeated or kept at the forefront, because the Democrats need to acknowledge and recognize that you've got 7 million people plus who are unhappy. They also need to have a message around that they can take forward. So when it is time to go to the polls, people will be inspired to go to the poll.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Well, you said 7 million. And then that's the amount that showed up the rally.
Right.
But the amount of unhappy people was closer to 200 million.
Say that. You're right about that, Mike.
It's only that 7 million showed up at these rallies. We need to do something actionable. Now, I know that the rallies, the protests, that is ingrained in our Constitution. Our right to petition the government, to express our grievances with the government, our right to have a peaceful protest. And that's what we did. We were within the Constitution.
Yes.
So a fascist who doesn't care about the Constitution, they're looking at that, they shrug their shoulders. It doesn't mean anything to them. It means something to us, but it means nothing to them.
That's right.
Absolutely nothing. They're going to let you have your rallies. They're going to let you have your protests. At the end of the day, they're going to come back and continue to shred the Constitution without actually calling a constitutional convention to change it. They're just going to disregard it and do what they're going to do. So, yeah, I support the rallies and the No Kings protests, and I do understand there's no one leader coming out of the protest thing.
Correct.
Like you said, with the civil rights, we had Jesse Jackson and Martin Luther King, but that was for a specific.
I'm talking about organizations like NAACP
Right.
that kind of
Okay,
led those things. Okay.
So why haven't the Democratic Party jumped on this?
Yeah.
I might not be using the right words, but it would seem to me that they would rally behind these folks and
Yes.
maybe, have a face out there attending the rallies.
Right.
In fact, there should be someone from the Democratic Party attending and speaking at every one of the rallies.
Everyone.
That's true.
But I didn't hear or
Yeah.
see any of them.
They slept on that.
Right. And so I don't know what to say about these rallies, except that the fascists don't see much coming out of it. We did it peacefully. Everything went according to plan, but nothing changed.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing changed. No one's consciousness changed. Nobody's actions changed. They're going to continue to do what they're going to do until you stop them.
Yeah.
It makes people feel good to attend the rallies, and it brings awareness to some people that weren't aware. But
Does this make them go full speed ahead on gerrymandering?
absolutely, nobody wants bloodshed.
All right.
So the way to avoid bloodshed is to gerrymander. If you're going to have an election, rig it so that one side is going to win. And the Supreme Court has said it's okay to gerrymander for your party.
Yes.
It's not okay to gerrymander based on race,
Right.
but it's okay to gerrymander based on your party. And I don't like that. I don't
No.
think there should be any gerrymander.
No.
And I don't see why the Supreme Court would say it's okay to gerrymander for your party.
Right.
No, it's not okay to gerrymander at all. That seems to me, my opinion, that undermines the integrity of the voting process.
Yes.
I just don't see why you would allow, as a court, why you would say, oh yeah, you can carve up this district that are full of Democrats. You can carve them up into several Republican districts to help your party. No, you can't do that.
No.
No, you can't do that. No, gerrymandering is the solution, because beyond that, it's no elections, which is going to lead to bloodshed.
Okay.
Right. The fascists do not willingly give up power.
That's for
They don't
sure.
do that. They don't do
Right.
that. When he went out of here the first time, it was kicking and screaming.
Right.
Kicking and screaming out of here.
Well, there's continuing this state now, so that we just embrace, if you will, that Trump is going to run again in 28. Dude, that's
He's building the
was it-
ballroom.
Was it Steve Miller?
Steve
Yeah,
Miller.
yeah.
Already said that.
Right.
He believes Trump will run again. And they're just putting these things out there, just testing the waters, kind of getting people used to the notion. And so that when that time comes, nobody's really surprised or nobody's fighting against it. But in truth, they're doing so much that's against the Constitution and that's illegal that it doesn't matter if the courts say not to do something. They're doing it anyway.
I have a question.
So who's going to stop them from doing what they want? Because they certainly haven't been stopped to this point. The Supreme
Exactly.
Court is complicit. They certainly don't seem to want to stop him or slow him down. And they took an oath to uphold the Constitution as well.
So, in order for him to run a third time, the Constitution would have to be amended.
Absolutely.
Okay, can the Constitution be amended with anything other than a constitutional convention? That's my question. As far as I know, it cannot be amended without a constitutional convention. That means all the governors have to come together and go through that process. It may be possible. I don't know this. And this is where we need Mr. Wayman Hicks. It may be possible to amend the Constitution through an act of Congress, but I am not sure about that.
Well, if that is an avenue, then it's a done deal because
Right.
they've conceded their authority and their powers too.
Right.
And
Right.
so realistically, right now, with them being in power and trying to continue to be empowered by the gerrymandering process, they can just about do what they want to do. They've got all the branches on lock. And of itself is really what's playing out right now. And like I said before, I said it again, I think I said every time we talk, once the Supreme Court was on board, it was almost a done deal.
Yep.
Checks
Right.
and balances are not
Are
checking.
gone.
That's out the window.
Right. The equation is out of balance. I'm going back to
Absolutely.
chemistry. We had to balance those equations. Its equation is out of balance.
out of
It's
balance.
not going to work.
That's
Speaking
right.
of balancing, with the government shutdown, people are starting to feel it now because they missed that last paycheck.
Right.
And now we are day 27 into the shutdown, quickly approaching the first time Trump was in office where we reached 34 days. I think it was 34, 38
Correct.
days. And you're starting to feel it at airports, Mike, and you're starting to feel it in state budgets with SNAP.
And you're going to, yes, that's enormous.
I had
And
no
you got-
idea. Was it SNAP or was it another program? I can't remember. It was like 70 million Americans are on
I think that's SNAP.
Yes.
some type of food program.
Right. It's 1 million here in Michigan.
Right.
Well,
far
if
as
you
I
look at
know.
it that way, every state has got 1 million.
Right. Right. And then WIC, too. The WIC program, is that tied to SNAP in some?
I think that it is.
way-
I'm not sure, but I think
They were saying, no, that program is going down, too. The bottom line is, a couple of people told me, who are close to the situation to me, this is going to go past Thanksgiving. The government is going to be shut down past Thanksgiving.
I believe that.
Fascist in chief, he can end wars, he can make deals all over the world, trade deals. He ended this war and that war. He can do this, that, and the other, but he can't seem to come to an agreement in your own country. You can solve stuff all over the world, but in your own country, you can't solve the simplest budget impasse.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you such a great man. Come on, man.
How much is that
Come on.
ballroom? 250 million?
Yeah, now
They
the
really-
ballroom is privately financed, so they say.
Yeah,
Closer to
well,
You know, but-
I tell you what, Mike, if you believe anything, I got a bridge in Brooklyn. I'll give it to you for
Right.
a real good price. Something a little short of 250 million, though.
A plot of land in
He
Florida.
said he's
shaped
going to
like a
use his
triangle.
own money. Come on.
Oh, I didn't hear
right,
that.
Right.
Come on now.
No.
He said if they come up short or if they need any part of it, use his own fund. In the meantime, he's suing. He's trying to get money from the DOJ.
Right.
To, you
Yeah,
know,
right.
almost an offset, right?
Right.
Exactly. So while the government is shut down, you can still pay your contractors to build your ballroom. It's not a good look.
Not
like
a
they
good
say,
look.
to be building a ballroom during a government shutdown.
Right.
And more and more people, even in his own party, especially those, let me stick to subject. The effect of the government shutdown on federal workers. We've entered the second week. This is the first full paycheck that they've missed, which was this past Friday.
Right.
We're going to see the effects going forward now. It hasn't really hit yet. It's going to hit when you see more robberies from the stores. And they're not going to restock those stores once the looting starts. And it's going to happen at some point. People are going to eat. And
Mike,
saying,
but you're saying the federal workers have her start looting?
what they're going to do is stop working.
Yeah.
That part. They're going to stop working.
Yeah.
And they're going to keep going to the food banks until the food banks don't have any more food. Then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You're going to do what you have to do to eat.
Yeah.
You going to eat.
Yeah.
Believe me, you going to do it. Mr. Great Solver of Problems. You can end wars and make trade deals and bully people all over the world. Speaking of bullying.
Finance Argentina.
Right. Finance Argentina. But you won't even meet with the Democrats to try and they asked you to meet with them to solve the problem. And you won't even do it.
He could care less. All he has to do is really he should tell Mike Johnson, hey, open the session back up. You know? And several
not gonna
things
do
he
it.
can do to get them talking
Right.
because you can't talk when the other side is on vacation.
Right.
And he could simply, because they've conceded their authority, he could simply really just tell them that they can go forward.
Right. Make a deal on health care. Look, he said in his first term that he was going to eliminate the Affordable Health Care Act, which,
Yes.
let's remember, that's their plan.
Mhm.
The Affordable Health Care Act is the Republican plan. So they don't like their plan because it was put into place by a Democrat. But he said, oh, no, we're going to trash that and come up with something even greater.
Right.
And it's been a long time, dude, and we don't see nothing greater. All you doing is saying, we're going to stop this. You haven't come up with anything at all. Not greater, not less. You've come up with something less, which is nothing. which I don't like the shutdown. Nobody does, but they're right. You cannot take away people's health care. You just can't do that.
Here's the thing. It's going to be a moot point because at some point they're going to have to make the adjustments on the premiums. We're in an enrollment period right now, right?
Right.
And at some point, those premiums are going to have to be accounted for. And if that subsidy is there for people through the Affordable Health Care Act, those costs are going to skyrocket anyway, right? Because they're not going to go back and say, okay, let's decide that we're going to come forward with this money. That's where they're at right now. That's the stalemate. They're saying,
correct,
we're not going to concede that point. And people still have to have health care. The insurance company's going to do just sit on their hands and wait for you guys to make a decision? I don't think so. You still got to be paid.
Right.
And so Trump is dead set on, it doesn't impact him at all. His cronies, those congressmen and senators that concede, they're still going to get theirs. Right now, by the way, they're getting paid right now.
Yeah,
right.
But it is going to affect 70% or 80% of the people who voted for him in some of those states.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why I said if the elections go forward, Mr. Miller doesn't seem to think that they're going to go forward. But if they do, that's when the chicken should come on the roof. Should start feeling it. And as Mike said, a lot of them are feeling it already. Well, you've got the power to vote. So those people who aren't representing you anyway, why should you continue to put them in place and prop them up if they're not going to do the job that they signed up for?
Right. Right.
If the president keeps his job, maybe they'll keep theirs.
Absolutely.
Based on what Mike is saying.
That's part of, it goes hand in hand. No question. If he keeps his job, and that's the thing, it's really just a job for them now. And when I say that, not to the extent that they're putting in any work, but they're getting paid and they're getting the benefits.
Yeah,
right.
It was Warren Buffett, or I think Warren Buffett said it. And Jamie Dimon might have said it over at Chase Bank. If we had tied these budgets or shutdowns to their salary, wouldn't be having them.
That was Buffett. I remember this. That was Warren Buffett, right? Ty, you don't get paid, and also the health care.
The health care, that's you.
Their health care has to be the same as everybody else. You have to pay for your own health care.
Right.
And stuff was sure changed then.
Was it a complete grounding in L.A. yesterday? They made an announcement that LAX airport was shut down.
Wow.
Planes were grounded because there was not enough operations.
Couple hours.
The FAA said the air traffic controllers. I don't know. That's what I just saw. The headline just said that it was shut down or the planes were grounded. So I don't know if it was a temporary.
It had to be. Would have seen that this morning on the news if it was still shut down.
But speaking of the air traffic controllers, because of the government shutdown, there are people that are in training. They got budgets to get paid while they're there. But once they come out, they're not going to get paid. So now they have to rethink their decision and the career path they've chosen. Some people, because they haven't really started, they can just take the training, finish the training, and go look for another career. And that puts us back in a position where we're at a shortage of air traffic controllers.
That's a stressful job. And to Mike's point, imagine if they decide not to show up.
Well, the Department of Transportation, working without pay, there are 10,000 people. Okay, without pay, 27,000, and furloughed, 19,000.
Wow.
So the furloughed people are not working and not getting paid.
Right.
The working without pay, those are your air traffic controllers. 27,000 working without pay. Wow. And at some point, they're not going to work. Right. Why would I keep cutting on? How do you even afford gas to get to work?
I'm sorry. That's a serious point.
But it's the truth. Right. Yeah. It's a fact. You got to have gas to get to work. Now, many of them are getting, a lot of the airports are giving them free meals.
Yeah, I saw that.
Giving them a voucher to get something to eat while they're there. But they got to get there. They can't even afford to do that. Got air travel scheduled for December and wondering, am I going to be able to get up out of here?
Yeah.
I saw Atlanta on the news about the airports on jam as far as making your way through TSA.
Yes, I got to get there in 2 hours before your flight.
And not to mention, it was an extra hour then yesterday.
Right.
On top of the time they tell you to come. So it was like instead of 2 hours, it's 3.
It's 4 instead of just an extra hour.
It's chaos right now. And it's going to get worse, unfortunately.
Right. Because several people close to the situation said, this is not going to end before Thanksgiving. It's just not going to happen. It's going to be a hard Thanksgiving for a lot of people.
Right.
And after Thanksgiving, that's when things are really going to get bad. I had a buddy calculate how much water he's going to need to last for 6 months. And he's going to buy cases of water for him and his mother, right, to last him a good 6 months. Playing how many gallons they need a day, how many bottles. He had it down. He's already started getting canned goods, non-perishable food, because he said, it's going to happen. We can't really imagine how bad it's going to be, because all of our lives, nothing like this has ever happened.
Right.
And we see it on the news when it's in other countries, how bad things, get. And I thank the Lord that I live here and it's not that bad. Now, for a lot of people, it's about to be that bad.
Yes.
It really is. Because when you don't have anything to eat, that's when millions of people don't have anything to eat. That's a whole different situation.
You're right about that.
I'm sitting thinking, as you're talking, Mike, I'm thinking about watching those history reels in the 20s where people were standing in line back in the day. And it's like, wow.
Right.
That took place here.
Yes,
America,
that took place here. Right. Right.
Wow.
Right. I just can't imagine it because it hasn't happened in our lifetime, but we're about to see it.
Right.
I think we'll count your blessings. If you've got a roof over your head and can maintain it right now, because too many people cannot do this. The cost of living in the United States has gone so high that people just cannot afford this. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what anyone's going to do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is what it is.
Yeah, there you go. It is what it is. They have to do the best you can with what you have to work with. That's all you can do. Do the best you can with what you have to work with.
What you have is nothing.
Right. I heard one guy said, I started from nothing, and look where I'm at today. And this other guy said, you started from nothing? Look, you started good. I started with nothing. Instead, if I had nothing, I'd be a billionaire today. I started with nothing to get to work to that. And I can understand that. You do what you have to do. What did Arthur Ashe say? Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can.
Yeah.
Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. And that's all you can do.
That's all you can do.
Yeah, do the best you can with what you have to work with. That's what you're going to have to do. Got a bunch of canned goods I'm going to give to our food pantry because I know they're going to be overtaxed. I'm hoping others can come through too, but it's not going to be enough in the end. It's not going to be enough because we're not just talking about federal workers. We're talking about everyday people that are working jobs, what we call the working poor. They're working jobs, but they still can't afford, food.
Yeah, basic necessities. That's true.
Right, basic necessities. Right. And you're going to cut that off? Wow, dude.
Yeah.
The most vulnerable people are being punished because you can't have your way. That is as thin-skinned as you can get.
Yeah.
Clack, fascist move.
Yeah. And that's another conversation, Mike.
That's another conversation.
Slapping Canada across the wrist because you couldn't stand the commercial that they put out.
Yeah, right. Right.
From somebody that you've probably quoted and you've admired, Reagan, is saying, you know what? He's coming back from the grave, speaking from the grave, saying, God, the way you're going is not it. Because they didn't misquote him in Canada. I said that's a whole nother subject. But to you, his skin is so thin that if you step on his toe or if you say something against what he believes, he's coming for you.
93% of these tariffs are being paid by us.
Right.
And the economy's going to fall because people can't afford this.
Right.
I'm looking at some of these prices. I just turned my head. Nope, I can't afford that. Look what happened to Cost Plus Wine Shop in Eastern Market. Went out of business because of tariffs. Cost Plus, in fact, I would say 80%, 70% of their wines were imported. And they were from small vineyards all over the world that produced excellent wines, and they weren't expensive. And that was Cost Plus claim to fame. I got some excellent wines that I should have been paying $30 or $40 for $15, $18, oh my goodness, were they good. But he couldn't, once those tariffs hit, that made his wines just as expensive as anybody else. He couldn't absorb. He said, I'm not doing this. He said, I'm just not going to do this. He went out of business. He sold his one day, he didn't even have a going out of business sale. He sold his whole inventory to some other distributor, took his money and retired. He said, I can't do this. Tariffs are killers. because ultimately we are the ones that pay that money. I'm just saying, if he spent $100 on candy last year, that same candy is $125.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
I'm sure.
Right. They're saying candy is up 22 to 25%. He's so smart and knows so much. And what did he say? Tariffs equal border security or equals protection? No, it doesn't. Tariffs equal your people being poor and the government having this big coffer full of money, and you're not using it for the welfare of the people. No, you give it to billionaires.
It's less about him being smart or even trying to be smart than it is about him just being selfish.
Correct.
He's
Period.
smarter than everybody else. He's stronger than everybody else. He's just better than all of us and everybody else in the world. So it's not about, he didn't care about people who aren't billionaires, because essentially that's what that big ugly bill is going to do. It's going to help billionaires. It's going to put more money into their coffers. I know, Tom, you don't agree with this, but this whole administration is benefiting him and his family. They're getting rich off of him.
They really are. If
And via
Obama
the-
did,
Even via the
Wait.
contacts they're making in foreign governments, that's so blatantly illegal that
Right.
any other president or official would already be in jail.
President Obama would be under the jail.
Yeah, absolutely.
If he had done half the stuff that Trump is doing to enrich himself.
And what
Oh,
are we,
my
nine
goodness.
months in? What?
Yeah. That's why Trump doesn't like, it's to your point, Keith. He don't like anybody smarter than him. And he especially doesn't like black women, because all black women are smarter than him. All black women are smarter than him, and he cannot stand that. So that's one of the reasons he went after black women so hard. Remember, he called that one woman overeducated. What the heck is overeducated? I've never heard that before.
We gotta say some of this for the next episode.
Yeah, let's say this. Yeah, edit that out. Right.
I took the top off of that box. Sorry, Tom.
Okay, I'm back.
Specifically said for another episode.
Right, that's right. He got his editing job.
Oh yeah, I do. All right, guys. That's all the time we have this week. Be sure to hit the follow button to receive a notification when we upload a new episode. To learn more about today's topics, go to the show description. You can text us. Join us every week by becoming a follower on your favorite streaming service. If you enjoy our podcast, become a supporter. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with the What's Going On podcast.